Okay, so this is the rctimer AS 2-axis gimbal that I'm setting up. I know somebody who wanted to see how I set up this gimbal for 2 GoPro Blacks. It's not on right now. I have it balanced pretty well, so everything's really nice. The servos are pretty weak, so you might want to get stronger servos. If you don't want to, you have to be like me and just make sure it's balanced very well. You can do that in the back with this little twist nut and bolt. Now these are kind of odd bolts because they don't lock into the aluminum. They actually count on you having this very tight. So the point is, if this loosens up, there's a chance this whole thing will just vibrate. Not just the nut, but the internal screw will vibrate out. So always make sure that these are tight. I've got one here, and I have one on the bottom. This gimbal came with this anti-vibration holder. I have not used it. This also has one of those screws and round bolts, so make sure that they're tight. I was tempted to even use some blue Loctite on them, but I have not. So I don't really use this. How I put this thing on my hexacopter is I just get some of these nylon screws from Home Depot. I use nylon because I figure if it crashes, maybe it'll break off and not ruin and do as much damage. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad idea, but this is what I use. And then what I do is, I forget I've only done it once before, but I use like a washer. I put it under here. Then I slide one of these spacers on here. Then I think I'd mount it underneath somewhere. I'd probably use another washer. Like this. Mount it on top. Up on the bottom there are some places you can just screw directly into this thing. Right here. Another reason I use nylon is because this hexacopter kit has metal in there, so you can solder directly to the frame. So I'm not sure what's hot and what's not. If I use a metal screw, I might make some sort of connection I want to make and end up burning out one of my engines or something. So I use the nylon, I bolt it right through here directly. I use 2 of them. So this would be one. Then I would go up to the frame, probably mount another one, another washer, and then one of these nylon type of wing nuts, and wing it on, or maybe use a bolt and get a wrench in here because it's pretty tight, and just make it nice and solid. That is what I did the first time I used this gimbal, probably a year ago. I will link to that video. And again, the whole reason why I'm going back to this gimbal is because I've learned how to balance it better. And I've given up trying to control the tilt of the cameras, and because it basically was super smooth. I will link to that video to show you how smooth it was. The only reason why I haven't shown off that video is because everything else about it is lousy. Like, it's lousy light, just, you know, it's not edited, it's not even cropped so you see the landing gear come into the frame. But back to the ASP 2-axis. Now I'm going to take this apart because I actually need to use my GoPros tomorrow individually for a bike ride I'm doing. But somebody, like I said, wanted to see how I do the 2 blacks. So basically what I did was this. Went to Home Depot. Got one of these aluminum stock pieces. Cut it. First I put the cameras on it. So I did that by placing some of this 3M. It's like a plastic Velcro. I use that because it's very strong. And I was trying to make a custom spacer, or maybe beg somebody to print me out a custom 3D printed holder. There's one on Shapeways that we talked about. Now I was too cheap to do that. I was really in a hurry to get this thing going. So rather than spend 84 bucks plus shipping, I have discovered a little secret. Since I have a lot of kids and they have a lot of cool toys, thus I'm not filming a lot, I get to use their toys to try to make some of my stuff work. So we bought this Jenga game, Jenga Tetris, And the pieces happen to be spaced almost perfectly for the difference of these cameras. So what I did was, I glued the Chenga piece on the bottom of the bar. I put the Velcro on the other side. Then I put Velcro on top of the Chenga piece. Now I added the zip tie because they do tilt a little bit, to get rid of any type of rotational effect. The zip tie can be moved around to try to make it perfect. So I'm going to take this apart, but before I do, this is how I get this thing to work if I just want to use it as a gimbal. You have to put it on something stable. For some reason, if you hold it, it won't shake hands and level. So I usually just hang it from something. Then I plug in my battery, and it starts to do its thing where it shakes hands and levels itself, gets a nice little feedback anchoring place, and then now it's all hooked up. So, like I showed you guys before, it works pretty good. And now that I have it even balanced even better, I can get jiggy with it. And so that's how I do it if I want to use it as a handheld type of gimbal. But like I said, I'm going to mount it on the bottom of my hexacopter again. Alright, so I can take this off. Now, this is that Hero system. Alright, so this is a little trick that I got off Shapeways. You have to unscrew these two screws just a little bit, pull the cable out, twist it 180 degrees. I went to Radio Shack, and Radio Shack happened to have this nice little set of precision tools on sale for $9.99. I try to support my local economy. I know most of us go online for things, but I still try to buy local first. So I got this little kit, and then I came home and I did it, and it barely works, but it does work. So you can get that extra interaxial if you flip it with this. So that's how I made this cable work for it. Now, since I'm taking these apart, I hate taking these things apart because how it links in. Okay. I do use these big circular polarizers. They are dirt cheap. I can't buy them local. I bought them on eBay. They're really nice. You have to. Something I learned, you guys probably know this because most of you guys are pros. I've kind of learned in this backwards photography wise. But you have to make sure that the polarizer is at the right point. That's going to give your light that optimal look. And you can just do that by holding up to your eye and twisting it like this to your eyeball. Or I think these just want the writing has to be at the top. And they work out pretty well. The hard part is always taking these things off. Because a lot of times the sticky part comes off. And that's because I've messed around with this one so much recently that I just have to buy some more of this 3M adhesive to make it work. And the trick with another trick with the GoPros is that I found that when I do this with this 3M stuff, you can't just use one big piece along the bottom. I like to use like 2 or 3 small pieces and separate it with a space. So I've got one there and like one here. And I don't know why, it just works better, and that way sometimes they don't always pull up and pull off. If you guys have a better way of anchoring these, feel free to comment. Don't be shy. The reason why I use this anti-vibration kit is because you can mount all kinds of stuff to it. You know, you can mount all kinds of little trays and doodads. They just kind of click in. You just kind of flex it, and you can snap it in there. Alright, it's always the last one, right? That's a pain. But that's why I use this thing. This is like a first generation gimbal. I got this with that X aircraft thing that I bought. I haven't tried it yet. I'm sure it works fine. I think to modify it for 3D cameras, I was going to have to cut this and extend it. And that was just going to be another, I don't know, it just wasn't as easy to work with as this rctimer gimbal. Plus, I think these brushless servos probably work better. So, the camera, I just slide off the Velcro because I don't have anything to cut it right now. So I'll slide it off. And let's see, is this gonna come off nicely or not? So that one came off nice. Oh, and I did use one piece for this one, but I think that's because I was just in a hurry to strap it on here one night. So this is it. This is that little piece that I made. Again, it's nothing special. It's just some Home Depot stock. I put the Velcro leveler on the bottom, and this Velcro actually lets me tilt it a little bit if I want to. If you don't snap it all the way in, or you snap it in crooked, or you can kind of make it so that these things point down or up. And like I said, I glued the Tetris piece on. Alright, let's not drag out this video longer than it has to be. I think I've hit all the major points. Best of luck, and feel free to comment and let me know. I'm kind of all sweaty from spending all day out on soccer fields watching my kids play, and which is why I haven't had time to film. But luckily the baby sleeps through the night, so the time that I usually used to get up with the baby, I can stay up and maybe create something, explain what I'm doing. So, but you don't want to see a sweaty artistic guy at the end of a day after being with his kids and everything. So, good luck, and please share whatever you make. Cheers. Oh, one last thing. I did have to make a jumper. So it'll go into my battery, and then that'll go into the main rig, and then this will go into my gimbal. So these are the plugs that I use. I'm sure there's 2 or 3 different types now that conduct the electricity very fast. I think there's a big blue one. I have an adapter on here for that one. There's this big blue type, and I think there's a new tan piece out. So you're gonna have to make a jumper probably. That's it.